everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another card making video. In today's video, we're going to be using the Kindred Stamps National Tooth Fairy Day stamp set, as well as some Gina K Designs amalgam ink to stamp on 120-pound white cardstock. This is 120-pound cardstock from Michaels, and it was just in one of those multi-packs. So I'm going to use my Hampton Arts Stamp Perfect stamp press to stamp these images because I've never used these stamps before and I want to make sure that I get a nice, crisp, clean image. So you'll see me stamp them twice, and I'm using my stamp chamois, my Norwex cloth, to just rub over the top of it so that I don't push the stamps down too hard and smush them. A lot of times you'll get kind of a blurry line image and not a crisp, clean line if you press too hard on the clear stamps. So I did that first on the 120-pound cardstock, and then I have a scrap piece of cardstock where I'm going to use to make masks. I started to video this of just me cutting out the masks, but that's boring, and I cut that rest of the part of the video out after a few seconds of me just trying to cut the masks out. So once I'm finished them, I put the mask to the side, and we're going to start the Copic coloring for this image. I did wait for this image to dry a little bit. If you try to use Copic markers as soon as you stamped the image, I find that it smudges for me. So I often like to stamp the image that I'm going to color first and then do a couple other things and come back to the coloring. So the Copic markers that I'm going to be using for the teeth, for the large tooth with the wand and then the tooth that the tooth fairy is holding, are C1, C0, and C00. So I go down with the C1 first, pull it out a little bit with the C0, and then come back with the C00. And then I take my colorless blender from Premier by Nicole and just go over the whole image to blend out the tooth a little bit. So I do the exact same thing for the small tooth, and there's not a lot of room on the small tooth, so it was just very, very quick to do. But I use the colorless blender to kind of smooth it out and push some of the color to the middle. It helps a white image really look white on cardstock, because if you don't color it in, sometimes it doesn't look right. And then for the cheeks, I just did a little bit of R20. And I meant to go back on the Tooth Fairy and put some rosy cheeks on her as well, but I never did. So for the crowns and the star on the wand, I'm going to be using two Copic markers in Y26 and Y28. So I go in first with the Y26, which I don't think I've really used this color before. It's called Mustard, and it was actually sitting right next to the Y28 in my bucket, which is why I picked it out. I usually just use the Y28. It's called Linette Gold, so anything that's gold is usually, I just use that one, but I found the Y26, and I think that they blended very nicely together. The Y28 just gives it a little bit of a shadow. So just going back and forth until I get a color blend that I like. And then I'm going with my Zig 2A glue pen. This glue pen doesn't have a lot of glue left in it, so I just put a little bit of dots around the edges. And it's called 2A glue because once the glue tip turns white, it becomes repositionable. So when it no longer becomes good for using to glue images to the card, I keep these pens because they're great for creating masks. So I did that and put it to the side because I like to let it dry a little bit. It'll be tacky, but it won't be permanent. So I let it dry for a little bit. And then I did her dress. And I picked up a couple of different colors are in the RV family, and I wasn't sure. This is one that I have a hard time with, and I believe I used RV66 and RV19 in the final in the dress, because I have RV06 and RV14, but those were a little bit too light and too bright pink. This one's a little bit more pinky purple. So I go in with, I believe it's the RV19 and color her dress. And then I take the RV66 and just do some flicks up from the bottom to make it look like folds in her skirt. And I know you really can't see too much of this, and I apologize. I haven't found a great angle to videotape at yet. For her sash, I use V25, just gives it a little bit of purple and brings out the purple undertones in her dress. And then for the wings, I didn't want to do gray because I didn't want it to look like the tooth. So I used B0000 Pale Celestine. And then I go back in with the colorless blender and do a little bit of blending like I did on the teeth. Now I could have gone back in with the B00 that I have, but I just decided that it just gives it a teeny tiny bit of color, and I was fine with that. Now I need to do her hair. I am terrible at hair. It's one of the things that I really need to work on. I start off pretty well, and then I just can't figure out how to finish it. So I just did a couple of flicks with the, I have some of the brown markers, and I believe I used I can't find them on my desk. I don't know what I did with them. E29 and 37 maybe. I apologize that I don't have these ones around. I'm looking for them on my desk right now, and it's a mess and I can't find them. So I don't know exactly which Copa colors I used. I think you might have been able to see the caps in the video. I think I held them up. So hopefully if I find them, I'll be able to put them in the video description, but I'm not 100% positive. I believe it's 37 and maybe 25 or 29. 29 is too dark, so I think it's 37 and 25 that I used. So just going in and coloring her hair, and again, like I'm not great with hair. It's something that I want to work on. The skin tone, I went in with E42, which I've never used for skin tone before, but I liked it. I just need to find something to blend with because the E02 is a little bit too peach, but then I pull it out with the E00, and I think that her skin tone looks pretty good. I think I use a little bit too much of the E02 on the top of her forehead, but if her hair's, I'll just pretend her hair is casting a bigger shadow than it really was. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put the masks over top of the images so that I can create the background. The background is made from the MFT Stargazer stencil, and we're going to be using a couple colors of Distress Oxide. We're going to be using Squeeze Lemonade, Fossilized Amber, and Mustard Seed. And I just wanted to get a little variation of yellow in here, more light towards the center, so more of that Squeeze Lemonade towards the center, which is why I used that one first and did the whole entire card with it, and then a little bit darker on the outside, so I used the Fossilized Amber and the Mustard Seed sparingly on some of the others, and I just wanted to give some of the stars a little bit of depth and dimension. And it's funny because I'm looking at it now, the finalized card now, and some of the stars look like they're more in the background, and then other stars look like they're more up front because the ones in the middle are pretty faded versus the ones that are on the edges. Those are really dark. So it gives a little bit of depth and dimension to the card, which was completely by accident. That was one of those happy accidents that sometimes happen when you are making cards. So I kept lifting the stencil up just to see how it looked underneath, and I was liking the way that it looked, but I wanted a little bit of color, so I went back in with a little bit of that Mustard Seed just to darken up some of the edges a little bit. Now that piece of cardstock is 4 by 5 1/4, and then the pink piece that we're going to mat it to is 1/4 of an inch larger than that. I just wanted to have a little bit of border around the outside. And then there you go, I'm cleaning off my desk. I finally think I have the hang of it, making sure I clean everything off. I am such a messy crafter. Like I've said in my last couple of videos, I really am messy, and I'm trying to be a little bit better about that. So I took off the masks, and I love this reveal part. This is my favorite because you can really see what the images underneath look like and the background. So I'm going to stamp out the sentiment that says, "You're amazing," and that's and then tooth is at the bottom. So you could leave the tooth there, but I decided to also stamp the word out. We're going to be using the Gina K Designs Amalgam ink. And I know there's 2 different versions of her amalgam ink. I don't know which version I have. I think there's like a dark black and then like midnight black or something like that. There's one that's dark, and then there's one that's really dark. And I think I have the first version of it. I did not know that until I watched Jennifer McGuire's video and she said something about it, and I thought, I don't know which one I have. So I stamped out this sentiment a couple times, again, because it's the first time I've ever used it. I got my stamp sets, when was it? Monday? Maybe tonight's Wednesday, so we got them Monday. I haven't had a chance to play with them yet. This is the first Kindred stamps first set of Kindred stamps that I got to play with from my last order. So I decided to make this Tooth Fairy card because I think the girls are going to be losing their teeth soon. As I was talking about in the video, everybody was talking about wiggly teeth at dinner the other night. So I'm just going to mount it to the pink cardstock, and then we're going to use the ATG gun again to put it on the base. And what I like to do is I try to line up 3 sides and then to make sure that it's going to be even on all sides, and then press it down. And that's the card. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you guys again in the next video.